Hey everyone, Lord Daimyo here. The Nintendo Gamecube was released in Japan on September 14th, 2001, making this year of 2021 the 20th anniversary of the Gamecube. In this video, I, along with some of my friends, want to celebrate and highlight our favorite games and memories with the Gamecube. So come along with us and let's remember and celebrate the Gamecube. Okay, I'll start first. So I received my first Gamecube on Christmas in 2001. I had the Nintendo 64 and I loved Super Smash Bros., the first one. So when a friend in elementary school told me that there was a second Super Smash Bros. Game, I just had to have it. This required a new console though, because the second game wasn't on the Nintendo 64. So I begged my parents for a GameCube. And, of course, the new Super Smash Bros. Game. And of course, as you know, I was elated on December 25th, 2001, when I got my GameCube and Super Smash Bros. Melee. So my first GameCube game I ever played was Super Smash Bros. Melee. This game was leaps and bounds better than the first game, and it came with new characters and unique ways of unlocking them. I mean, I even remember rumors around the playground where kids left their GameCube on overnight, and then like in the mornings, Mewtwo snuck into their game, and they were able to fight him and unlock him. So I always thought that was super cool. There were so many new different styles to play Melee. There were new different stages. There was adventure mode, classic mode, break the targets, board the platform. There was so many things that made Melee so much better than the original and made Melee great in itself. I mean, I played so many tournaments and games of Melee that I kind of had a reputation at school. I actually remember one day, one of the cool kids at school challenged me to Melee. And he was talking so much trash all day about how he could beat me and all that. So after school, I went to his house and played just one single game of Melee against him with my friend. So it was me and my friend versus him and one of his friends. And my friend, who barely played Melee, immediately got knocked out. So it was just me versus him and his friend. Easily beat his friend. And with my main, Captain Falcon, I don't want to brag, but I easily beat him too. So he got so mad that he chased me and my friend out of his house. So Melee isn't just a good GameCube game. It's arguably the best Smash game. I mean, just look at the 20-year-old competitive scene for Smash Bros. That's proof right there. But enough of me now. I said I was going to have some of my friends come on and help. So let me hand it over to my first friend, one of my great friends, and he is going to tell you about his favorite GameCube game. So, the super cool YouTuber Doofy, go ahead.
So my good friend Lord Daimo asked me to come on here and talk about my favorite GameCube game. And I said, of course! I'm your guy, I love the GameCube, and I do. But my favorite GameCube game of all time isn't actually a GameCube game, and indeed it's not even a Nintendo property. It's Sonic. And in particular, it's none other than the 2003 port of Sonic Adventure, known as Sonic Adventure DX Director's Cut. Why all the extra names, science is yet to figure out, but that aside, why is this my favorite game? Well, no matter how you look at it, by almost every metric, this port is worse than the original Dreamcast version. I mean, the textures are awful, they really kill the look of the game, not to mention there's much more glitches here. So why would I pick the GameCube version over this? Is it just because this happens to be on the GameCube while Adventure 1 was on the Dreamcast? No! Sonic Adventure 1, specifically on the GameCube, is probably my favorite game. But why? Well, it's because of how flawed it is. It's because of how messy it is. It's because you never end up doing what the developers want you to do. You're often going to fall through random floors, you're going to fling around, the camera's awkward, and it seems that despite me saying it's my favorite, I haven't said a single good thing about it. But that's kind of the charm of Sonic. Sure, while the textures in the GameCube port really diminish how good the game could have looked, and it certainly looks quite aged looking back, there's a certain charm about it. And I don't know if that's just my half-assed way of saying that I'm nostalgic about it. This was one of my earliest games and one that I have a lot of memories with. So yeah, of course I'm willing to look at it a little more charitably. It just reminds me of an earlier time. But I think something that it does right is the world. Its atmosphere, it's just able to grip you in. It has an amazing soundtrack, and I think it really does incentivize you to just go on an adventure. You don't have to go the way that you're supposed to. There's no one single way to get to the end of any level in Sonic. There's different ways, there's different parts of the map that you can just stop and you can just go to. And that's the benefit of the adventure play style. It's not all about the boost, the speed, and momentum. It's about exploring. And so that's exactly why I love Sonic Adventure. I mean, it's about stopping halfway through Emerald Coast and just taking a moment to look out at the ocean and have a moment with that kind of wonky looking but highly nostalgic water texture. Or maybe instead of going up the little loop, you just stop and you go down. You look around at the bottom of the island and you notice, hey, look, there's a bunch of rings here, or there's an extra life here. It's those little moments that I think really make Sonic an adventure, and an adventure that I want to go on. And sure, is it frustrating when you die unjustly because of a glitch that wasn't supposed to be there? Sure. But Sonic isn't generally a hard game. You can get back up and you'll finish the level in no time and you'll know where not to go next time. But this just creates another opportunity for you to laugh with your friends. Like, what the fuck is this? It becomes a bonding experience for anybody playing with you, but it's equally as moving to play it with yourself. I will say, maybe on a more technical note, I quite like a lot of the designs in this game in terms of stage levels. I think they're fun to maneuver around. Again, there's lots of room for exploration. There's more than one path to get to the end. These are things I like in the game, but with the particular aesthetic of Sonic, this just kind of carries it over the top. That, plus I just love the character cast in Sonic. I mean, Sonic is just a fucking cool guy. Knuckles is just a cool guy. Now, all the playing styles aren't as fun as Sonic's. Collecting shit with Knuckles, it's not always fun. It's frustrating at times. But again, there's just this kind of note of adventure there that I just don't know if I've felt with another game in the same way I have with Sonic. So maybe I'm being nostalgic, maybe I'm overlooking things and I'm writing off flaws as other ways to enjoy the game, but frankly, I don't care. My name is Doofy, and this is my favorite GameCube Gabe. Thank you, Lord Daimo, for having me on here. Feel free to check out my YouTube if you like what you saw here. I do more anime-related content, so I'm not frequently talking about games, but I have a Discord, and if you want to talk about Sonic there, I'm your guy. Likewise with all my Twitter, so Daimo, thank you so much for having me on here, and until next time, peace and love, baby.
Thank you, Doofy. I really appreciate you coming on. And yeah, I played Sonic Adventure DX Director's Cut too, and I liked it, but not as much as you did. I kind of liked taking it slow and just playing with the Chow in the Chow Gardens, But another GameCube game that was relaxing like that was Animal Crossing. So the boom in popularity due to New Horizons has been great, but not a lot of people remember that North America got its first Animal Crossing game on the GameCube. This game was so unique and fun. I mean, you all understand the premise of the game now, but when it first came out, it was weird describing a game that you decorated your house, planted flowers, caught bugs and fish, and talked to animal villagers. But it's a great, relaxing, fun game. The game was also set with the GameCube's internal clock. So this was actually one of the first games that I can think of to use a real time for the events and stuff. So that was really cool. I remember borrowing this game from a friend and changing my GameCube clock to New Year's Day just for each year so that I would receive a lot of money in the mail from like your mom or whatever. And of course I used all that money to pay off my house from Tom Nook. And actually, the friend I borrowed this game from is the new friend that is going to talk about his favorite GameCube game. So my friend and artist to the channel, Ra Vashtar. Ray, let's hear it.
Thanks, Daimyo. My favorite game on the GameCube was Super Mario Sunshine. I got it for Christmas when I got my GameCube, and I spent a ridiculous amount of time playing it. I was probably about 11 years old, and it was the first appearance of my favorite Mario character, Bowser Jr., and I loved all of the different levels. I was such a big Super Mario 64 fan that getting to play more 3D Mario levels was fantastic. And I loved that they were all locations on the same island. Sometimes I would just leave my game running and listen to the music. And I would beat the last volcano level over and over again just to see the cutscenes with Bowser. It also had Petey Piranha, which is one of my favorite character designs from the Mario universe, and they had so many weird little enemies too, like the Yoshi egg Koopas and the little raccoon who trades blue coins for shine sprites. And the shine sprites themselves were really fun too. I thought it was cool since all I had really collected before was stars. I also like the Nokis and the Pyantas, really just the entire art direction for the game and the way that the plaza gets brighter every time you collect more shine sprites just made it that much more fun to make progressions through the game. I liked getting to go around on Yoshi and squirt juice, even though that's like one of the weirdest things you can do in that game when you really think about it. But overall, I just had a great time playing it. It's still a game that I go back to either on the Switch or on my old GameCube. And it's a game that I can really just kind of relax playing. Even though the controls are a little bit weird, I still have a lot of fun playing it. And I'm sure I will beat it probably at least 20 more times in my lifetime. Alright, thanks for having me on. If you guys want to check out any of my artwork or some of the little sculptures and things that I make, you can head over to artsaflame.com or check me out on Instagram at artsaflame.
Thank you, Ray. I absolutely love Super Mario Sunshine too. It is one of my favorite Mario games. Well, actually, probably my second favorite Mario game after Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. This Paper Mario game is one of the greatest turn-based RPGs ever. It has amazing character development and story, and I love how the combat isn't just turn-based. It lets you be involved in the action. I loved the first Paper Mario game on Nintendo 64, and of course was super excited for the second one. And with all these issues with the Paper Mario franchise series now, I can comfortably say that the Thousand Year Door is the best and definitive Paper Mario game in the entire series, and one of my favorite GameCube games. Another best game in its respective series was also on the GameCube, The Legend of Zelda series. So my second favorite Zelda game is The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I know not a lot of people like Twilight Princess because of things such as like the long introduction, the linearity of the game, whatever other reasons. But I think these things make the game amazing. The intro allows you to see that Link is just a regular guy that does chores, herds goats, loves his village and his friends, and is just mundane. So it makes him becoming a hero that more important. The linearity lets us experience the best Zelda story and character development, with characters like Midna and Colin, and I mean, even Link in the entire series. It's truly, if you didn't have that linearity, you couldn't craft that well of a story. The combat was solid. All the special attacks you could learn from the previous Link. The dungeons were some of the best in the series. It's true. And I mean the story. You all know the story. I'm not gonna spoil nothing. I mostly played Twilight Princess on the Wii, but I still think it's the best Zelda game on the GameCube. Think what you want. But now to talk about the other Zelda games on the GameCube is my friend Ziggy, who is 1/3 of the Crazy Daimyo's Video Game Emporium podcast with the pals, including myself. And he's going to tell you about his favorite GameCube games. So, Ziggy, take it away.
Hey, what up? Daimyo, thanks for having me, man. It's been a second. Man, my favorite GameCube games of all time. Well, Daimyo, you're the guy who got me into GameCube. I was all about the PS2, and you're like, bro, but the GameCube, the games are half the size. The discs are tiny little discs, and I love it. But in comparison to the regular PS2 discs, whatever, like DVDs. But my favorite freaking one that I played like the most was the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition. Reason being, it's all of the best Zelda games of the time, pretty much. Like hands down classics. There's 4 of them on here, and then there's even a demo for like the current Zelda game that was out on the GameCube at the time, Wind Waker, which is actually a graphical feat at the time in video game design, like graphic design class. They teach that that is something that they disassemble that and explain like why it's so cool. But anyways, I digress about that when I could be talking more about The Legend of Zelda, the original one where they were trying to make Final Fantasy but decided to just keep with the overworld and just swing a sword around. It's a cool game. You could play it forever and just get lost. But The Legend of Zelda 2, you find out that side-scrolling Zelda just really ain't the thing. It's like super weird. But what was cool is they had the night and day thing, as did Castlevania 2 at the time. So like these two games at the same time were trying to create this like new night and day mechanic. Love that. I'm actually really cool about that. It made it hard. Nighttime's always harder. But what I was all obsessed about was Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. Those two games, like you put those two games on one game already, it's better than most games. Anyways, everybody already knows about those Zelda games. I just want you to know that there is a collection that's in one disc that you can pop into your GameCube or your Wii, and you can just play Zelda, the ones that you want to play anyways. But I think that Zelda's great and all, but sometimes just fighting monsters with a sword just doesn't cut it for me. Metroid Prime, if you just want to blast aliens, is where it's at because, well, first of all, first time you've ever just seen what Samus sees right there, like, and first person. Nintendo doesn't do first person games, really. So for them to just out the gate take one of their classic games, make it first person, and make it way cooler and different than any other first person, still almost to this day, you can scan like almost everything like you're in this like robot suit that she's in, and you can learn so much. Um, one of the best things about Metroid Prime is literally the atmosphere and the music. As you're going around, you see all this beautiful stuff. It really pulls you in, and you will want to just be there. Uh, God, I love those so much. Okay, but sometimes blasting aliens just doesn't really give me the adrenaline rush that I really need. I mean, killing stuff is always fun, making things explode. Who doesn't love shooting lasers? It's all right. But sometimes a real adrenaline rush just comes from that pure octane of just going like 700 miles an hour. You could do that with F-Zero GX. So one thing that GameCube has that Nintendo hasn't really done before, been able to do since, really, take their games and just like continuously change them up left and right. F-Zero GX transitioned perfectly into the next generation. I cannot believe they have not made more. F-Zero games are some of the craziest space-time racing games. You're going like 700, 800, 900 miles an hour, and then you're pulling around these turns. And on top of that, it's crazy where like every single car has a character, and the character has this backstory, and they're like cool like aliens and like robot people, and it's the music on top of that. F-Zero is classically known for having some of the best rock and roll music of all time in any video game franchise. Facts. Argue with me? There is no argument. Go and listen to any of it. Uh, uh, Nintendo, well, game companies were they were doing great things with their games at the time. They were all making good games. So F-Zero was competing with more than just the other games on the GameCube, you see. So they were actually competing with the other racing games that were out at the time. Other racing games that had arcade machines. So what did Nintendo do? Put out an arcade machine for F-Zero GX, dude. It's super great. I had to stop and just collect myself for a moment because It's phenomenally cool. If you could get one, or even get the chance to be even near one, you would instantly want to go and sit down at it. The F-Zero GX arcade machine is one of the coolest racing arcade machines that you will ever run into. Uh, God, this game is great, but I I have to say that like sometimes I just need something a little bit more simple. I mean, almost as simple as I can get it. But if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna kind of recess back into killing things again and just jumping around. And what's better than Alien Hominid? And Alien Hominid, what makes Alien Hominid so special as a GameCube game is because Alien Hominid may be one of the very first indie games to ever ascend into an actual physical console game. It's originally from a website called Newgrounds. Tom Fulps created this website for Flash animations, and that same guy that made the website made a game that was on the website from Flash, and it's called Alien Hominid. It's about this alien that crashes down, and you just instantly have to start fighting FBI agents. Super simple. You get hit once, you die. Very much like Contra. Love it. And it's just play. You just play and see how far you can get. It's real silly. And that's so simple. And you can, it's one of my favorite games. And I love it for what it is something that it just proves and goes to show that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money you put behind a game. It's all about the passion that you put behind it. And I love that. And it comes up with something, you end up something cool every time. Maybe not every time, but with Alien Hominid, you're just arcade classic type fun that originally was just some dumb game that was on a website. But yeah, anyways. Yeah, those are some of my favorite GameCube games that I've played throughout most of my life, and I put the most hours into a lot of those. There's a whole bunch of other GameCube games that are very unique to the console, but those are just some of the ones that I really like. Anyways, so what's up? My name is Ziggy, and I do this podcast with Daimyo. And uh, when I'm not doing the podcast, I design skateboards and shirts. And you can find the skateboards at boardpusher.com/voidvandal. And then the shirts are storefrontier.com/voidvandal, I believe. Anyways, thanks for having me on, man. And I really appreciate you taking the time to contact me and get me over here again.
Thank you, Ziggy. That was so many games, but that's fine. I loved Zelda Collector's Edition. That game actually birthed my love for Majora's Mask and the Zelda series as a whole. I remember playing all 4 of those games so often on my GameCube. And Metroid Prime, that also sparked my love for the entire Metroid series. I mean, you didn't mention Metroid Prime 2, but even 2 was great. Just the unique first-person take on a Metroid game with Prime was so revolutionary and amazing, and I definitely cannot wait for Metroid Prime 4. F-Zero GX, oh my gosh. One of my favorite racing games, actually probably my favorite racing game ever. And that arcade machine was really cool. I actually had a chance to play on one once. And it's actually so sad that we haven't seen any new F-Zero games, but what are you going to do? Another game that was my starting point in a series, much like Majora's Mask with Zelda and F-Zero and Metroid Prime, was with the Resident Evil series, Resident Evil 4. So, not a lot of people know that Resident Evil 4 was a GameCube exclusive at first, and then of course went everywhere else. I mean, you can play it on any console now. And it's actually one of the greatest games I've ever played. I mean, I've sank hours into doing multiple playthroughs of Resident Evil 4, just all different kinds of guns, different techniques, just everything. It's so amazing. This game reinvented not just the Resident Evil series, but horror games as a whole. It's truly incredible, and I hope we get a remake soon. And there's actually another game in a series that introduced me. And it's this game that we're about to hear now. It's coming from my friend and awesome YouTuber, King Mamzy.
Hello guys, it's me, King Mamzy, and I'm here to talk about Sonic Adventure 2, a game that many people fell in love with on the Gamecube and that also got many people into the Sonic series as a whole, and rightfully so. It's a very good game with a great story. It introduced the best character in the entire Sonic series, aka Shadow the Hedgehog. We got to play as Dr. Eggman for the first time in a mainline Sonic game. It also has the adorable Chow Garden that many people love and want to see come back to the series. The soundtrack is goated, the multiplayer is amazing. Seriously, this game has so many awesome things about it that I could just go on and on about for days on end. It is such a good game and literally one of those games that everyone who owned a GameCube will talk about even to this very day, whether they're a Sonic fan or not. Personally, I would love to see this game get remade one day as well, but regardless, if it does or not, it will forever remain as one of my favourite 3D Sonic games in the series. By the way, big thank you to Lord Dameo for having me on this video, and a big thank you to you guys as well for watching it as well. Stay blessed.
Thank you, King Mamzy. Yeah, Sonic Adventure 2 is my favorite Sonic game for all the reasons that you gave. Shadow, Eggman, the Chow Garden. I loved the hero side and the villain side. Even the emerald collecting was pretty fun. I played this game so much that it actually, I was trying to defeat the final boss in Sonic Adventure 2. And I couldn't beat him, and I tried so hard and so much. It actually destroyed my first GameCube. My GameCube just stopped working because I was just playing it so hard. It probably caught fire or something. I don't know. So, I mean, sadly, I went without a GameCube for like a month when I was a kid. And it all because of Sonic Adventure 2. But it just shows how much of a great game it is. So, I did get a second GameCube when I was a kid. And when I got the second GameCube, I also got a game with it, a little known Capcom game called Beautiful Joe. So Beautiful Joe was originally a GameCube exclusive, and it was super fun to play. That and Beautiful Joe 2 came out, and it was this amazing side-scrolling beat-em-up game with a unique twist on it because Joe had like a Power Ranger suit-up sort of thing, and he had like movie-based attacks, so he could like zoom in the camera for like a close-up to do different moves. You could like reverse the film, so reverse the flow of like water or whatever. You could slow down the camera in the game and all the enemies, and Joe would be slow. And it was really fun with combat for that, and it helped create some of the most interesting and challenging puzzles I've ever seen in a game. But now to talk more about beating up and fighting games is my friend Creation, also a part of Crazy Daimyo's Video Game Emporium podcast with the pals. So he's going to talk about his favorite GameCube game. Creation, let's hear it.
What it is, what's up? It's X-Men Next Dimension. That's what it is. Hello, peoples. It's been a while. Um, I've confessed before, if you were viewers of the podcast, and maybe even on some other notes when Nintendo was in the mix of topics. I've never owned a GameCube, but I've played quite a bit of it, and there's been a lot of impressionable games in my mind that I still find nostalgia from. And X-Men Next Dimension, this rare 3D fighter, is what came to mind immediately. um, I spammed a lot of Gambit. It was a very dark game. The opening scene is like some of the world's greatest Marvel heroes' tombstone, so you know it's about to get lit, but for lack of any better phrasing or terminology there. But it was a fun time. Uh, Daimyo and I have lost many hours of sleep spamming games and mistranslating Gambit's French and etc. If you're a fan of fighting games, Marvel, cult classic hits, obscure hits, especially in the fighting game genre, then Next Dimension is the one that I'd be looking to pick up or at least check out. It's very obscure, might be rare, I'm not quite sure, but it's it's a very impressionable game, and my first like experience as a whole, like experiencing like the darker side of Marvel's storytelling and the degree they pushed was actually kind of dark for the time. But and once again, thanks for having me, Daimyo. My dear friend, I've been CreationDefaced, and if you're into obscure games, especially GameCube games, because you're all youngins, check out Second Sight. I haven't played that one, but I wish that I could have. And peep that next time. Laters.
Thank you, Creation. Yeah, I remember playing X-Men Next Dimension with you for hours, so many hours. But speaking of surprisingly good games, Luigi's Mansion, to this day, is still such a good game. The second and third games are fine, but I think Luigi's Mansion 1 for the GameCube is the definitive Luigi's Mansion game. I loved exploring a dark, scary, haunted mansion. It was actually pretty scary despite them being little Nintendo cartoon ghosts. I mean, you didn't know what was around the corner. I loved collecting treasures. It reminded me of Wario World and sucking up ghosts, not just regular ghosts, but the portrait ghosts were so cool that they all had their unique, different way that you had to get them to react so that you could suck them up. And finally, you got to save Mario for once. How cool is that you get to play not only as Luigi, but you're saving Mario? So I absolutely love that game, and it's an amazing game. And last but certainly not least, my good friend Whawkins is going to tell you about his favorite GameCube game. So, Whawkins, let him hear it.
How's it going, everybody? It's your world champion here, and I am here to talk with you guys about one of my favorite GameCube games of all time. And actually, it's a set of two games because I'm a cheater, and because I'm the world champion, I'm going to do exactly what I want to do. Now, these games are basically the Pokemon Coliseum games, both Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness. I played these games so much as a kid growing up, and the replay value is just, it's really good, and the games are really good as well. So rough synopsis is, especially for the first one, you actually start off with the villain team. You know, you're actually part of them, and you take this device that basically steals Pokemon from other trainers, but not just any Pokemon you're stealing. You're stealing what's called Shadow Pokemon, which have had their hearts darkened and just bad things are happening with them. And XD Gale of Darkness is the sequel to this game where you continue on your journey with as a different character to catch all the shadow Pokemon and purify them and all that. Now, the cool thing about XD Gale of Darkness is it had Shadow Lugia in it, which is one of my favorite Pokemon designs of all time. I wish we could have more Shadow Lugia, but yeah, I mean, overall, I love the games. I love the game style because, like, all the battles were double battles, which I really like, and it got me really used to doing double battles in Pokemon. So, I don't know, I just really liked it. Plus, the graphics were pretty good for the time. You know, it still holds up pretty well to this day. Not only that, but the simple joy of being able to purify Shadow Lugia, who in the game is supposed to be unpurifiable. That's just, it's awesome. It's great, and it's a good game series that like expands on itself, and I really wish they did more. Like, even if they just did a port to the Switch, I'd be fine with that because then I get to replay it even more. But overall, it's one of my favorite games on the GameCube. So that's all I got to say on that. So thank you, Lord Daimyo, for having me on for the brief time I was on here. If you guys want more of my content, I'm sure you can hit the link down below in the description. Check out my channel, talking about One Piece, Eden Zero, My Hero Academia, all things nerdy, and let's get my channel up to 1K, shall we? Alright, thanks, Lord Daimyo.
Thank you so much, Whawkins. And while I didn't play Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, I did play Pokemon Coliseum. And I was often frustrated with the constant double battles. I know you said that you liked it, but I wasn't a fan. But the story was fun, the game was fun, and I really also liked how you could connect the Pokemon that you had purified into your Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald with the adapter that the GameCube had to the Game Boy Advanced. Now, let me get to these last games. And you all know this wouldn't be a Daimyo video if I didn't talk about Pikmin. Pikmin is my favorite game ever. When I first got this game, I really didn't know what to expect. I had just seen the commercials, and it looked interesting. But when I found out I was stranded on a weird, strange foreign planet with limited time, I was stressed. Like, I was stressed by the day limit. I was even more stressed when my Pikmin would inevitably die or get eaten. But this stress heightened my experience, and I grew under this pressure. I was able to multitask by managing 100 Pikmin while scouting for ship parts, building bridges, breaking down gates and walls, and fighting enemies all at the same time. I must have played through and beat Pikmin several dozen times before the second one even came out. And don't get me started on Pikmin 2. I mean, Pikmin 2 built on the previous game in good ways and in bad ways. Most people praise the removal of a day limit in Pikmin 2, but I missed the challenge that it brought with it. The addition of a second captain in Louis really paired well with Olimar's character, Louis being gluttonous and slothful, and Olimar really a hardworking family man. It really allowed for their characters to grow and allowed, in gameplay wise, more multitasking and unique puzzles where you have to switch between captains and take some Pikmin with this one and some Pikmin with this one. 2 new Pikmin types were added in Pikmin 2, and that enhanced the game even further. And, of course, the underground areas in Pikmin 2 were like a labyrinth with different tiers where you couldn't go back, you couldn't create new Pikmin, you got what you got, and it was a fun break from the regular areas with, of course, more challenges and less challenges because there was no time limit. But overall, I am so thankful that I grew up playing the GameCube. This console and all the games with it influenced my love for video games. My tastes for games and me as a gamer have grown and been inspired by the GameCube and its games. I wish I could have talked more about a lot of the other games like Wario World and WarioWare, Kirby's Air Ride, Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, all those other Zelda games like Four Swords Adventures, and the 2 Star Fox games, Adventure and Assault, and all those Mario games like Double Dash, Strikers, Mario Party, so many different games, so many games. But if I talked about all those, then this video would be too long. Anyways, happy 20th birthday to the Nintendo GameCube, and thank you so much for being the best video game console ever. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you again to all of my friends who came on and helped me with this video. I really appreciate all of you guys. The links to all of their channels and accounts and everything is in the description down below. Please make sure you guys check them out. Also, please let me know in the comments what your favorite GameCube game is, and let's just celebrate the GameCube for the last day of its 20th anniversary. And if you haven't played one or any of these GameCube games, then do it. Play these amazing games. Again, thank you all so much for watching. Have a fantastic day.